what needs to happen each week and who's responsible for it. When we have that data, now it's an effective action plan because I can't just tell you to go get more clients. Very little we can do with that data. But if I
Hmm.
told you to manage your team member to make sure that they walked out and went to 2 networking events every single week and they talked to at least 10 people and got business cards from 10 people at each one of those networking events every single week, is that something we could manage to or not? The answer is yes.
Today, we are going to be talking about something incredibly fun and exciting and can help you change your business. We're going to be talking all about creating an effective action plan. And this is something I'm really personally excited about because that's something I've never done before. I've always just had little plans, but never anything really effective. So Tanner is here. We're going to have a discussion on effective action plans and how to use them and the benefits.
Oh, I'm excited to be talking about this one. I'm going to preface this for those that are watching or listening this later on. Let us know kind of your comments and thoughts about this conversation because this is such a big topic that I think we could probably expand beyond just this one conversation today. So let us know ahead of time. What resonates with you, what stands out, and if you want to go deeper on certain specific areas when it comes to building an effective action plan for your business.
Yes, I agree. Well, I'm excited to dive into this conversation. So let's kick it off. Where do we start? Yeah, that's I think what many of us are asking is we are like looking at that canvas, blank canvas, like we just have this business. Where do we start?
Yeah, I'm gonna start with maybe just kind of hitting a couple things that I think are important to address, and um, I'm gonna say this specifically because I and we have been guilty of this in the past, and that's most plans are not very good. Especially if it's the first time you've kind of gone through the plan, whether it's building the financial plan or the budget, or getting into like how does my business need to actually do things over the next quarter, year, whatever it is. Oftentimes the first iteration of these things isn't always the best, and that's okay. There's a learning process that comes along with it. So if that sounds like you and you've gone through this before and you're like, I'm just not good at it, it's okay. It's a learning process. You're going to walk through it. So that's the first thing I want to just articulate. The second one being most plans that I've seen in the history of kind of working with businesses and things like that really aren't any good because you can't manage to them. They're high level. They tend to focus on like, I want to achieve X, Y, and Z, all fantastic stuff, but we're not getting granular enough. We're not going deep enough to say what are the specific actions that need to happen and who am I going to hold responsible to it? And what
Mhm.
happens if we're off plan? Like how do we know we're on or off plan throughout the process? A lot of these kind of bigger plans that I've seen, whether it's like I'm going to achieve this over the next 90 days, there has been kind of a tendency, especially if you're newer into business and you're worried about all the other stuff of actually doing your business on a quarterly basis. Oftentimes those plans get written and then they get thrown in a drawer and they don't get looked at again until 90 days later when you got to build the next 90-day plan. You pull out the old one and go, that's what I said I was going to do this last quarter.
Mhm.
That's just kind of preface the stage that tends to be where a lot of businesses are at. If that's where you're at, that's okay. We've been there, and learning a process of how to build a more effective plan. That's really kind of what set our business apart from the years previous. So kind of dive into that. We're going to kind of start large level and kind of bring it down. That's kind of what I would want to take us through today. So let's start with a formula. And this is the formula for success. So I'm going to have you all write this down as you're listening to it. But it is dreams times goals times learning times plan times action equals success. So that's DGLPA if you just kind of use the first letters of each one. But this is a formula that was taught through Action Coach from Brad Sugars as the founder. But I really like it because when we think about how this works in real context, we start with dreams. So what are dreams? Dreams are kind of that big overarching thing, right? It's the um, vision for your life. It's the I want to have or experience these types of things. I have no idea how I'm going to achieve those yet, but these are the things that I really enjoy. So, taking a minute to just kind of think through what are the things that I'm striving towards. Like, why am I in business? Why am I trying to generate additional cash flow and create this entity and all of that kind of stuff? What are the things that I want in my life? For some of you, it might be things or homes or cars or whatever it is. For others, it may be I want deeper relationships. I want to experience these things. I want to travel more. Like, you get to choose what those dreams are, but put them out there because the business that you're operating and building is the vehicle to achieve those types of dreams. So we always start with that. And then we backtrack into goals. Goals are going to be the specific things. You think SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, results oriented, and time bound. We get down into the specificity of specific goals, and then we get into what do I need to learn in order to achieve them. How do I build the plan around the learning and the things I need to do to achieve it, and then we take action. That's kind of the bottom piece there. So that's the formula overall. And then how we get into it is kind of where the rest of the conversation goes. But I'll pause there for a second because I know I've kind of been speaking a lot on this topic. But formula: dreams, goals, learn, plan, act is kind of the formula for success when it comes to building our effective action plan.
Well, I really like that because it makes so much sense. And when you think about, like, I know I've gotten stuck in this kind of dream, like I have all these ideas and kind of these dreams and what I want, but then it's like, how do I actually take the steps to get to those, like make them actually my reality? And so this is a great way, a great system to help people, help business owners to really just take that idea or that dream that they have and give them the actionable steps to make it happen. And then also along the way to probably course correct. Like, say you have a dream or a vision that maybe isn't sustainable or it just needs a tweak to become sustainable. So this is a great way to, I'd say, catch that right away before you're, year 2, 5 years into business and you're like, why is my business not making any money? Why am I not finding success? Well, this is going to be so helpful to help that, like, or to help businesses make it happen. So I'm really excited. So how do we get started? So we have these dreams. What comes next?
So let's, this is where we get kind of into the nitty gritty. And for kind of the purpose of this conversation, I'm going to encourage us to kind of think through a 90-day plan. So when we, first think dreams, big goals, ideally we're putting some sort of kind of uh, time metric to it. Like I want to achieve these things in the next 10 years, 20 years. Like it's got to be a
Mhm.
big thing, right? I know we've had different conversations on kind of goal setting and how do you put it on a more structured time frame. But the point being, from that we get into goals. And one of my favorite questions when it comes to talking about business is asking the question, when will you be done with your business? And some people are like, what does that mean? It's like, well, when will this business be complete? Now that could be it's completely done and I'm ready to exit. So I'm going to sell it. I'm going to, hand it off to my children or whatever it is. Like I'm ready to just be done with the business altogether. Or it could just be done, meaning it runs without me so that I can step away from it and I'll hang on to it for a while. But I at least get to get out of it as the business owner. So the point of this is getting specific. So I asked that question, when will you be done with your business? So they actually have to put a date and time
Mhm.
and then start to articulate, what does the business look like? Or what do you think the business needs to look like? Like, what's the revenue? How much profit is coming off of it? How much free cash flow of that profit is going into your pocket every single year? To achieve that, how many team members do you think that's going to need to be? What types of products and programs do you have? But getting as specific as possible, and say that's 5 years in the future. Where I'm going here is, once we have that identified, we can go back and say, all right, if that's 5 years in the future, where does this business need to be 3 years from now? Where does it need to be 2 years from now? Where does it need to be by the end of next year? And then we can break that into, here's where I need to be in the next quarter to be on track for that. And that's where kind of the rubber meets the road when it comes to, how do I build an effective action plan? It's not just a true business plan that's 5 years out, but what do I need to do in the next 90 days? And this is where we get, okay, so I have specificity on, here's what needs to be achieved. Maybe it's, I need to achieve X number of dollars in sales or X number of dollars in revenue. And I've got some revenue that's already coming in from recurring sales I've had in the past. And I need to go get this additional dollar amount of sales. Perfect. Now what do we do? Now we reverse engineer. And this is why, if you listen to anything that I talk about, over the last several months, it's all about tracking and measuring different things within your business because this whole planning process is based on historical data. So the more that you're tracking and measuring in your business today, number of sales conversations that you had last quarter, number of sales that you had, where did those sales come from? The more of that I know, the more I can pull that forward and make decisions on where and what I need to do as a business to be effective in the next 90 days. So, bringing this all together, we set a goal. We say it's going to be X dollar of sales in the next 90 days to be on track for this quarter. Okay, perfect. So if it's that many dollars of sales, how many sales is that? What's our average dollar sale? What's our average order volume? What's the average cart value, depending on the type of industry that you're in? But how much do people spend on average? How big is that? Because if it's I need to get to $10,000 in sales, on average people spend $1,000 with me, then okay, I know I need 10 sales, right? 10,000 divided by 1,000 gives us 10.
Mhm,
So now we've got a number. I need 10 sales. All right, to get 10 sales, how many sales conversations do I need to have? We
mhm,
just take it one step back. And then you just keep taking that all the way back to activity. So how many sales conversations do I need to have in order for that 10 sales to happen? Maybe it's 20. Maybe my conversion rate's 50%. Okay, perfect. So what comes before the sales conversation? Well, it's sales meetings booked, right? Not everybody's going to show up to every single sales meeting in some cases. So what is the conversion rate there? Well, I know that 8 out of 10 tend to show up to the meeting. All right, well, now I can do the conversion to figure out how many meetings do I need to book? Okay, if I book this many meetings, what comes before that? Well, I need to have this many conversations with people who are qualified to buy from me, or they're sales qualified. Okay,
mhm,
perfect. Now we can go back and figure out how many of those we need. All right, if I have that number, what's the number before that? And we just kind of go all the way back to the very core, and this is the key point here. We go all the way back to what is the activity that drives those numbers. So if I know that sales meetings is derived from each of these numbers all the way down chain, but it all leads back to I needed to talk to this many people at networking events, or I needed this much traffic to my landing page, or I needed to ask for this many referrals from my current customer base. It's like once you get to activity, then we can break it down into what needs to happen each week and who's responsible for it. When we have that data, now it's an effective action plan because I can't just tell you to go get more clients. Very little we can do with that data. But if I
mhm,
told you to manage your team member to make sure that they walked out and went to 2 networking events every single week and they talked to at least 10 people and got business cards from 10 people at each one of those networking events every single week, is that something we could manage to or not? The answer is yes. That leads us to a true effective action plan because then we can see as long as that activity is happening, are we achieving the end results? If the answer is yes, do more of it. Continue to manage that process. If the answer is no, then we can look at what's broken in that chain, what's not happening in that chain, or where have the results shifted from what they were before, and how do we correct that? This is where we can make those micro tweaks all the way through week by week through a 90-day planning period.
mhm.
If we're off plan, we can make a change today that's going to allow us to stay on plan versus waiting until 90 days from now and going, I didn't hit plan. Now what? What do I do different this next quarter?
Mhm.
That's too long of a time period. We need to figure out what are we measuring every single day and every single week that we actually have some control over. So effective 90-day planning or effective planning overall comes down to what is the activity that I can actually manage.
Mm, that is incredible because it really gives you back the control. It puts you in the driver's seat of your business. It would be the way I would put it because then you can see the roadblocks and you can maneuver, pivot around them, make a change, take a different route and really make those goals a reality. So I think that's incredible. I think it's highly valuable to get educated as a business owner on like this is power in your hands. We can't control a lot of what happens, but there are certain things that we can at least when things go like out of disarray or aren't going in our favor, we can course correct and like have a new plan. So That is incredible, Tanner. I'm super excited to like learn more about this and just see how this can help. So,
Yeah.
yeah, what are your final thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, so to kind of to bring it home, for at least the conversation today, there's so much more that I think we can get into on this particular topic. So again, if you're listening to this, put in some comments. What nuggets are you taking away from it? Where do you want us to go a little bit deeper? Because this is a learning process to actually apply all of this consistently. That's why every single quarter we sit down with all of our clients and we work through this with them. But I want to share a quick example to kind of help bring all of this together and why we plan at this level. And this is an example of one lead generation strategy that we've used in the past, and it was direct outreach on a social platform. We had I think a number of call it we needed 15 booked meetings per month. I think that was kind of the standard that we had set based on historical data and things like that. So we get a month in, and we find out those activity metrics, we were off. We only had say 10 meetings instead of 15. Okay, well we're off plan, and because we're off plan, downstream results are off. So we're not hitting the sales numbers. So that's a challenge. That's a problem that we need to solve, and we can't wait until the end of the quarter to fix it. So because we understood what's the activity that needs to happen and what are the things that we can control all the way up chain, we were able to take a look at that and go, okay, well we have two things that we could do. One, we could jam more activity into it. We just do more messages, cold messages out to the target audience. We could go from 1,000 outreaches to 1,500, right? We could increase it to get the volume. Well, the other thing we could do is there's something that's not happening there. We noticed that the response rate to the message was lower than usual. Okay, well, what needs to be tweaked there? Is it a targeting issue? Is it the scripting that we were using is no longer working anymore, and we need to make some tweaks there? So the action plan for the next month, or the next couple of weeks rather, was we're going to increase the volume, because if we're still in the process trying to figure out how to fix this conversion rate, we're still going to control the other aspect that we can, which is do more outreach.
Mhm.
In the same time, we're going to tweak or try, three different iterations of the message that we were sending, see which one has the best response rate, or which one has a better response rate, or one that's closer to what the standard was. And once we know, okay, this one's converting better than the other, we will shift everybody to that one so that we can increase the conversion rate. Now, all of a sudden, we don't need to do as much volume, or we can keep the volume coming in and we have much better results downstream, which could allow us to catch up on what we missed the previous month. So when we bring it all the way back to activity, that allows us to actually make decisions as business owners. Like as a business owner, you're solving problems and making decisions. And when you can see this stuff, it allows you to say, here's what I planned for, here's what I'm seeing, here's the choices I can make to get us back on plan. Because the question isn't, crap, I'm off plan, too bad. It's why am I off plan? What can I actually influence? And go and make those tweaks because of it. That's going to allow you to become successful long term when it comes to building a plan and sticking to the plan and being able to manage the entire process.
Mm. Well, this is music to my ears, and this is so great. And thank you for sharing that example because it is so helpful. And like you said, we could deep dive into this on such a stronger level, but just to give people the surface of, hey, this is what you can start thinking about, and look at your business and look at how you can make it work the best for you. So thank you, Tanner. This has been an incredible conversation. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and for getting us thinking differently about our action plans.